Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast 5, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes, of course, but we are going to pick out the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable story, a sleeper story, one that's flying under the radar a little bit, and then our favourite business-ish story. Let's jump straight into it with the biggest story. I reckon, I'm just going to go first. I've nominated myself to go first on this one, Sean. I think the biggest story this week was the inflation figures, the quarterly inflation figures that came out. After 3.5 years, headline inflation has fallen to 2.8% for the year to the end of September. That is back into the Reserve Bank's target range. Lower petrol prices, energy bill rebates, all helping. The trimmed mean, or the underlying, the rate really that the Reserve Bank looks at, though, that is still at 3.5% above the target, but it's coming down. You've got to say the Reserve Bank's going to be pretty happy with this, but they're going to want to see it sustainably low before they reduce interest rates. So probably still expecting a cut maybe around May next year, Sean.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest story. Quick mention of what's happening in retailing. This week we found out that Myer is going to team up with 5 apparel brands, Just Jeans, JJ's, Portman's, Dottie and Jackie E, in a $1 billion deal, create a create a big retail brand. We also found out that Coles and Woolies are struggling in terms of the ability to push up prices, in terms of selling. More people are using other alternatives, not just the Aldis of the world, but also the Bunnings and the Chemist Warehouse. Good news there is that we might end up seeing more discounts as those big supermarket chains try to drag people back in. Third one, Mosaic Brands. We're thinking that includes Katie's, Miller's, Nonny B, Autograph, placed into voluntary administration. Plenty going on in retailing, Michael.
I love the idea of a mega super brand. One superlative is not enough. This is good. Sean, most remarkable story.
Yes, I think there's only one, Michael. Go for it.
Yeah, I think it was the findings of the inquiry into the response to the COVID pandemic. It was such a wide-ranging review, and they looked at everything. They had a senior public servant, an epidemiologist, and an economist. So they were looking at social, they were looking at medical, they were looking at the economic response. And I think something that seemed to be missed in a lot of the coverage of this throughout the week was that the report actually said there were courageous decisions taken during the response to the pandemic, particularly early on, including the international border closures, setting up national cabinet. And without those kinds of things, the death toll would have been higher. And that things like early lockdowns and JobKeeper actually helped to build a sense of national purpose. But that trust was then eroded as the lockdowns wore on. They were applied inconsistently around the country. There was a lack of reasoning, transparency behind it, the slow vaccine rollout as well. The social impacts, they pointed out, is still being felt today, particularly the impact on children through mental health and academic performance, the economic impact. I was talking about inflation before, Sean, and the huge amount spent by governments contributed to that inflation challenge. To me, this whole thing was remarkable because of the scope of the report and the fact that they're going to use that now to develop a blueprint as to what to do the next time something like that happens, and it probably will.
Yeah, no doubt.
A sleeper story. What have you picked out for us? You're always better at sleeper stories.
Look, I think it's this Qantas upgrade saga. It all started with a book from former Fin Review columnist Joe Aston. It infers that Anthony Albanese rang Alan Joyce, then boss of Qantas, asking for upgrades when he was Transport Minister. Eventually this week, the Prime Minister's office came out and said, no, he never rang, text or emailed Mr. Joyce for an upgrade. But wow, it took about 4 days to get there, and he was equivocating a lot. All that time, opposition leader Peter Dutton, he was having a go at the Prime Minister, but then by the end of the week, he had to concede that his office had asked Gina Rinehart's office to use her company's private jet to travel from Queensland to Sydney to attend a Bali bombing service. The opposition transport spokesperson, Bridget McKenzie, has been very vocal on this. Then later in the week, she had to check with the airlines just in case she'd received any upgrades. Anthony Albanese started talking about greater transparency for trusts. This is a Pandora's box. It is quite murky, the perks and other things that politicians and CEOs get as a result of their position. I reckon we're going to hear a lot more about it.
Yeah, I reckon you're right there. What was your favourite story? We've both got favourite stories coming out of the US. What was yours?
Yeah, look, mine is what's happening at Starbucks. It's having a crisis. Basically, the world's biggest coffee chain, fewer people going into stores. The group's share price isn't doing anything. The problem, according to new CEO Brian Nicol, is the experience is transactional, menus are overwhelming, products inconsistent. wait is too long and the handoff too hectic. Add in $8 lattes, other coffee shops, 8-ingredient drinks taking too long to make. A third of orders now mobile, meaning those in the shop have to wait too long. I'd give you in fact, I will. You know what you can order there, Michael? A quad long shot grande in a venti cup, half cup, double cup, no sleeve stalled, salted caramel mocha latte with 2 pumps of vanilla. Substitute 2 pumps of white chocolate for mocha and substitute 2 pumps of hazelnut for toffee nut. It goes on. That's about half of the order. Too many of those. Too big. Mr. Nichols going to change things.
It also sounds disgusting.
It does sound disgusting.
Just give me a strong flat white. I'll be happy. Sean, my favourite story is also out of the US, but I'm a big picture kind of guy. The US election is finally here. After all the melodrama and all of that, we are actually at the point now where in a couple of days' time, Americans will be voting. The polls are still extremely close, so who knows where it's going to end up. But the highlights of this week, there really was just one highlight, and that is the photo op of Donald Trump in a garbage truck. It was all kind of, there was a comedian at his Madison Square Garden rally who called Puerto Rico garbage. Joe Biden, remember him? He popped his head up again just in time to say that Trump's supporters were garbage. Trump got in a garbage truck saying, no, they're not garbage, they're Americans. And really, that just sums up the election campaign, doesn't it? We've got rallies, We've got gaffes, we've got photo ops, light on policy, big on personality. We've had a couple of debates, a couple of assassination attempts, Joe Biden kind of intervening, another gaffe, months of silence. They shifted to Kamala Harris. Is it going to be enough? We don't know, but we will find out on Tuesday, US time. Big story, favourite story.
Yeah, fair enough.
There we go, Sean. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to hit follow and join us online on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed.